Why am I playing this? It was a freebie on PlayStation Plus. Amanda Waller, head of Argus, recruits 4 criminals into Task Force X, otherwise known as the Suicide Squad. Suicide because they've been given the unenviable task of defeating an entire alien invasion force led by the DC supervillain Brainiac. This is a third-person shooter. It's open world. It has multiple resources to collect, as well as an arsenal of randomised weapons and equipment, and a selection of season passes available to buy. In other words, this game couldn't be more corporate if you had to play it in the HQ's front lobby. And then they charge you to walk through the sodding door. The game supports 1 to 4 players and fills out the missing players with bots. They aren't the most competent bots. They will move and battle crowds, just not with a player's competence. You don't have to babysit them though, at least. They never go down in a fight. Well, unless it's a scripted moment in a mission, that can happen. The team of 4 consists of Deadshot, expert marksman, favours rifles and pistols attacking from a distance. Harley Quinn, total nutjob, favours short-range guns and melee, dealing with the enemy up close and personal. King Shark, monstrously intelligent, quite literally, uses heavy weapons and melee. And Captain Boomerang, completely and utterly bloody annoying, uses mid-range guns. I say annoying because he spends literally at least half of the campaign complaining about literally every fucking thing that happens.
A musclehead, a nut job, something that offends my eyes, and a homeless person. You're perfect.
We know.
There are 6 types of weapons in total. All pieces of equipment are accessible by the entire squad. Except they're not. There are certain character-specific enhancements, and it also turns out that each character can only equip 3 of those 6 types of guns, which initially confused me. Each team member has their own unique method of moving beyond just hopping around. Deadshot's the easiest by far to get to grips with. I recommend you start with him. He has a jetpack that lets him fly freely in pretty much any direction he wants. Harley Quinn uses one of Batman's grapples along with a bat drone. And at first it's a bit tricky to get a handle on how it works, mainly because the drone has a cooldown between swings, so you find yourself having to rely mostly on grappling to the tops of buildings. King Shark is surprisingly another easy one. He has two enormous leaps, one that fires him forwards horizontally, another one launches him vertically high into the sky, and three mid-air horizontal breaststrokes. It sounds more complicated than it is, but it gives you a remarkable level of control, considering he's a giant fish in mid-air. And Captain Boomerang teleports to the location of his boomerang after he's thrown it, which is tricky because you have to hold the button to keep the boomerang flying forwards. It's when you let go of the button that he actually teleports to it. So if you just tap the button, you'll teleport 2 feet, which is useless. It means that you can't do much while you're waiting for the boomerang to reach its target, and like the man himself, it's irritating. On the surface, the combat is fairly simple, but quickly becomes more complex as you go. Enemies can be shot or meleeed, and Waller, being the sweet, sensitive, caring soul she is,
I'm your daddy.
has disabled shield regeneration for the squad. The only way to regen your shield is to shoot enemies in the feet and follow up with a melee attack. And then some enemies have personal shields that can only be broken by a melee attack, which themselves can be followed up with gunfire. Thus the game encourages you to mix it up and combo between melee and ranged combat. And it's actually a pretty good system once you get used to it. There are a few other useful moves such as ground slams, and the less useful ones like sliding that I almost never bothered with.
This is to make us active for elimination. Firing barrage on next shot. My domain, my rules, your graveyard. Good luck. Let's add a heartier constant to the mix. Welcome to my sandbox, Task Force X. It's where you'll be buried.
And I don't know about anyone else, but I can't tell the difference between all these different soldiers. I mean, apparently there are riflemen and shotgunners. But in the heat of battle, especially later on, I can't tell the bloody difference. You know, it's a bad guy, kill him, he's gone. Next. Forget it. There are also brutes, which are huge and stand out a mile. And then there's these little squiggly things which run all over the place. They're called Terminauts. I just call them squiggles because they kind of remind me of those enemies from Prey. Hilariously, the squiggle character models are actually used for 3 different variants. Ones that just seem to wander about the place, ones that carry extra loot, and ones that upgrade enemies to more dangerous versions. And the only reason I can tell the snipers apart from the rank and file is because every time I jump 2 feet off the ground, I get a million lasers aimed at my head. As further evidence of the recycled nature of the game's content, side missions are also repetitive. Capture control points, gather data from fallen enemies, protect giant plants. All of which require you to kill enemies or kill enemies in a location. The most unique missions are rescuing hostages and blowing up giant guns.
New targets, go. This thing just showed its belly. Hit it with everything you got. I wouldn't want the fight to be too lopsided. This keeps it engaging. Diving for a meal.
Always showtime.
Wall of death, people. Jetpacks, man.
Initiate tactical repositioning.
Pack just lit up the Terminaut chunks. Let's get them. Open it up on your target, Shark.
But in an attempt to make missions more interesting and frustrating are the additional rules. Waller will simply decide you have to complete regular tasks in certain ways. This game has been made by developer Rocksteady, who created the Batman Arkham franchise, and in all honesty, these rules do kind of feel like you're playing the Arkham challenge rooms. Because in the old Arkham Predator challenge rooms, you had to take out the enemies a specific way to complete the challenge, and this feels like that, except there, the challenge rooms were an optional aside and you didn't have to do them. Here, they're part of the story missions and you've got no choice. You have to do the bloody things. Rules include enemies only taking damage from shield harvesting attacks. Enemies only take damage from critical hits. All other damage heals them. Honestly though, these actually aren't too bad. The grenade kill rule, however, was a complete and total fucking bitch. Only grenades kill enemies. Regular enemies can be made to drop grenade ammo fairly easily, but not the brutes. They only drop extra grenades when countershot. And the brutes don't use counterable attacks that often, making killing them a nightmare. Team members level up as you play with them in the game, and every time they level up you get talent points that you can spend on talents, which is basically a system ripped directly from Borderlands. I will say this though, the talents are quite powerful. They're not little tiny incremental boosts like 0.5% to this, and they're significant enhancements that you get. And wonder of wonders, joy of joys, you can respec them on the spot anytime you want with a couple of button presses. Boss fights are fun, even though I feel like it shouldn't be this easy for a bunch of gun-toting B-listers to topple the Justice League's heaviest hitters. There is some bullshit comic book gadgetry to explain how it's possible, but still.
Not really used to killing crooks, but after less, I'm starting to get the hang of it. Try to outmaneuver these. You can't run this, Boomerang. I can run between seconds. You still think you're a threat?
Looks like we're powered up for payback, Barry.
Walk or fly! Let's run 50,000 volts through the shark!
Speed need regular.
Let me just catch my breath. I'll kill you guys in a sec.
He's throwing a freaking tornado at us.
Forecast says lightning, high winds, and dead crooks.
And finally, the final boss, because it's final, Brainiac. And what's he got in store for us? He uses the Flash's power set. So, basically, I'm just fighting the Flash. Again. And is it just me, or is Brainiac too easy to take out? Now, I feel like the ultimate boss of the game should be harder than this. Or maybe it's, I don't know, because I've already beaten the Flash. Ugh. Finally, mission complete, and we can all retire and relax. Yeah, right, there's 12 more! Because games these days can't just end, they've got to have end game content slapped on. In this case, it's broken into post-launch seasonal episodes, some of which have extra unlockable characters. Episode 1, Fear, which is stupid because the Scarecrow doesn't make an appearance. Seriously, you named your episodes after the bad guys just as an excuse to create villain-themed weapons and equipment. Anyway, episode 1's Brainiac rewards you with the Joker as a playable character when defeated. But to play the Brainiac mission requires you to be rank 35. because each episode has its own rank number. Which, by the way, the episode's rank number has absolutely nothing to do with your character level. That's separate. Every single episode has its own rank number, which has to be raised to a minimum level before you can fight Brainiac in that episode. And you have to do it for every single episode. So yeah, you beat Brainiac once in the main campaign, and then there's 12 more! Episode 1's Brainiac, incidentally, in an imaginative twist, uses Green Lantern's moves.
The construct shielding on my units is a little above your level. Actually, a lot. Oh, it does feel good to stretch my brain into the metaphysical. Ready for a challenge? I was thinking mines. The shield is looking a bit moth-eaten. Time for a few repairs.
Brainiac did not consider the negatives of his crossfire. We must use this.
I'm picturing your defeat, Task Force X. And where there's a will, there's a way. Ship, activate scouring beam. I do enjoy stirring the pot with lasers.
But we're not done yet. Episode 2's Brainiac is Superman. As if this game wasn't already repetitive enough. Every episode has a different rank requirement. Episode 1, I had to grind for 3.5 hours to reach rank 35. Episode 2, however, only required me to reach rank 10, which took me an hour. But then episode 2 doesn't unlock a bonus character. I still think it's a weird choice, because to have the first episode be really grindy, but to also be the first one, and therefore the most likely to put you off wanting to do any of the others. That's weird. I mean, I know it's the Joker, but still. Speaking of which, the Joker prefers using fire and grenade attacks. He moves by an oddball rocket-propelled umbrella. Okay, I've got to give the developer props here for making him play insane.
Just as plucky and capable as yourself.
Crushing Crystal, an activity and our new band name. Turn to sender.
Explosion imminent. Here is my punchline, Harley Quinn.
I love attacking incubators without shields. Ooh, like that one. Here's our opportunity to chew up this incubator and spit it out!
Deadshot. Have I not faced enough forces to your Earth to keep you occupied?
And I did also take the time to unlock Mrs. Freeze, who has a fun movement system, but is let down by not giving you a custom freeze cannon.
Baby can breathe.
Guess this is basically an ordinary vacation in Metropolis for you.
And here is where I stopped. Point of order though, as of very recently, the developer has decided to end the post-launch content after episode 8. So you'll never get to kill all the iterations of Brainiac after all. Oh, woe is us. But you will be able to continue to purchase the season passes, lucky us. And an offline mode is being added because this game is online only, so it's not all bad. Half. About half of it is bad. This game can easily be summed up by a single word. Repetitive. It has good combat, and goodness knows it tries its absolute best to be varied, but there's only so much they can do with a shooter. The missions are broadly speaking the same, and the rules feel like they get in the way rather than making it more interesting. The characters and story are excellent, despite Boomerang's attempts to sabotage it for at least half the game. I like the sense of humour, and all of this helps pull you through to the campaign's conclusion. This is the kind of game you wouldn't mind playing for about 12 hours until you finish the story. But if you'll take my advice, don't pay full price, don't pay for any of the season passes, and don't grind relentlessly against the missions. Because your only reward for doing so is even more difficulty options. Oh my god. Why can't games these days just end?
No target selected!
Spicy meatball incoming!
Dispatch the assassin quickly. He's making you look weak.
You know that thing when you fire up a Diablo game and it gives you like 20 difficulty options at the start and you think, oh, this is worse. This is just like never ending. This game is an infinite. I mean, I know it's designed to be played ad nauseum, but good God, it just never seems to run out of the same stuff to do. It's just stuck on repeat. Is this game? It just is. It's alright for the 12-hour campaign, but that's it. Don't bother. Anything else. I'm going to stop wittering now. Right, what did you think of my review? Leave a like or dislike down below. What did you think of Suicide Squad, or is that a stupid question? Leave a comment down below. And for those of you who can't get enough of my dulcet tones, you can always subscribe, ring the bell for notification, that's a separate thing. Or if you want to inflict my irritating persona on someone else, you can always share instead. See you next time. Though not playing this, obviously.